Hello, everyone. Happy Shochu'sday. Stephen here. Christopher's still out and about in the U.S., and so we've given him another day off. We've got Evan Gowan with us here today, joining us from Kumamoto. So he's right down the road from me, down in central Kyushu. And we're just going to chat Shochu a little bit. How are you, Evan?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to Golden Week, which is coming up in a couple of days. So
That's
got
right.
plans to go to Okinawa and of course to visit you.
Nice. What's I guess why don't we explain Golden Week to people who might be unfamiliar?
Golden Week is the longest continuous set of holidays of the year. Although this year that's not true because like next week on Friday is not a holiday. And basically it's the time of the year where everybody just goes everywhere in Japan. So actually, if you are coming here as a tourist, this is the worst time to come because everything is booked up full. So
that's right.
But yeah, it's really a nice time of the year. It's before the rainy season, and the temperatures are quite nice. So it's really an ideal time to have a long holiday.
That's right. I mean, if the cherry blossom season, which just ended, is like the birth of spring, and everybody's finally happy to get out of their house and enjoy the sunshine and that sort of thing. Golden Week is kind of kicks off summer, I guess, right? But it's the best part of summer because between the rainy season and the heat gets pretty oppressive, especially down here in Kyushu by July, August. So this is really pretty popular time of year for everyone. And it took me several years living here before I really realized how to properly do Golden Week, because I'm not a planner. I tend to make plans a couple of weeks before and book my travel and hotel and everything. And you can't do that for Golden Week. You have to book well in advance. So this year finally did it right. Made reservations in February, I think, for May. So gonna do a little driving tour of Kyushu, visit some distilleries and that kind of thing. How about you? What are you gonna do for Golden Week?
Well, I'm on Thursday. I'm going with my wife to Okinawa, and we'll stay there for 3 days, and then so that'll be nice. She's a doctor, and so she specializes in sort of respiratory health. So of course during these times she's quite busy. So it's nice that she gets a few days off where we can go and relax for a while. And especially on the beach, which is one of my favorite things. Crack open some awamori and enjoy the sunshine, hopefully.
That's right. Yeah, that sounds ideal. Okinawa is always a great place to visit, and I can imagine it'll be really nice during Golden Week. So everyone, let us know what's in your glass in the chat. If you're sipping on something, let us know. I'm really happy to speak with Evan. If you actually go back in our YouTube archives, I think maybe the very first video we ever recorded as a live discussion was with Evan as we were testing this StreamYard software, because Evan was living in Germany and he had acquired a bottle of the Brewdog Shochu. Inugami, that's right. And he tasted it for us live on air. You get his first reactions to that shochu, and so he was, I guess, technically our first guest, and this is his first time back on the show. And a lot's changed since then, right? You were in lockdown in Germany at that time, and now what are you doing?
Now I'm in Kumamoto, so I finally was able to get here, and I got back here in July, and I was able to get a research position in Kumamoto, so I'm still able to work. So
fantastic.
Yeah. And did you do anything with? I brought you a bottle of the Inugami. Have you done anything with it yet? I'm curious.
Yeah, actually, I haven't opened it yet. I've been waiting for Christopher to be in Fukuoka and for him and I to have time to drink it together. or open it together. I doubt we're going to finish it from your review, but at least try it together. We want to record that as well, so we're going to try to figure out how we can get that done. It's just the last couple of times he's been in Fukuoka, we've just had nonstop activities planned, so definitely need to crack it.
Well, if you end up doing that, you can let me know, and I can. It only takes me about 25 minutes to get to Fukuoka Station, so it's
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, the Shinkansen. You live near this station, don't you? In Kumamoto, and it's a 25, 30-minute ride up to Hakata, which is kind of crazy to think about it. And actually, it's not that expensive, is it, for the Hakata Kumamoto?
I think if you get unreserved and order it online, it's like about 3,000 yen
each way. Yeah, that's not bad at all. I should probably spend more time in Kumamoto hearing that. And you and I actually met through our good friend Nori, right? And his bar. What's it called these days? Because it keeps changing the name.
Global Bar.
Global Bar, yeah. It was Global Bar Emo Vibes was the original name. Actually, the original name was just going to be Bar Emo Vibes. And then it became Global Bar Emo Vibes, and now it's just Global Bar. So, but as some folks may have heard, he's decided to shut it down, right?
Yeah, I mean, his main focus was to attract foreign tourists to come and introduce shochu, and he was doing quite well until obviously January 2020, when eventually the Japanese government just completely stopped anybody who's not a Japanese national from coming into the country. Of course, I also got kind of stuck outside because I'm not a Japanese national, but eventually they did start allowing people who are married to a Japanese national to come in. So I was able to get back, and it was very tough. I was in Germany for about 1 year and I couldn't come back. So I tried to make the best of it because there is a shochu importer called Ginza Berlin in Germany. So they have a very good selection. So if you're in Europe, in the EU countries, you can order from them. So
they're kind of the umami mart of the EU, I think. Umami mart has that almost national reach in the States, but Ginza Berlin has pretty great stuff in the EU. And you and I were doing frequent on-nomis at that time because everybody was in lockdown around the world, and so an on-nomi is online nomikai, which means basically online drinking party. And we had people from all over the world, right? We had folks waking up in the morning in the States. You were in Germany in the afternoon, maybe late morning, early afternoon, and then us here in Japan late night, and we just all get on a Zoom and hang out and feel a little sense of normalcy, even though we're all in different countries. It was kind of a weird time, wasn't it?
Yeah, when there was the lockdown in Germany, like it was one thing I sort of look forward to every week because there was nowhere to go really, and I was sort of living by myself in Germany. So I mean, I'm a very social person. Like I usually go out 3 or 4 times a week. So
sure.
Japan is absolutely amazing to be able to do that so easily. Like that is the culture here, and that's why I really love living in Japan. And, so as it may not be so great on the wallet, but it's a way to meet with people and have lots of great food and lots of great shochu.
Sure. Yeah, and that was kind of my routine as well before all of this, and I've just gotten used to cooking at home, making nice meals. The New York tap has been a godsend to up my home cooking game, and it's been kind of a nice, probably healthy change of lifestyle to eat more at home and
certainly during the lockdowns in Germany, I lost a lot of weight. Like I lost about 12 or 13 kilograms. And
wow, that's
I have
huge
gained a little bit back, but
Yeah. Well, you're also a runner too. We've talked about that before.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
have you been able to run in Japan? Have you started a routine?
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't been running so much lately because I've injured my legs, so I'm trying to just hold off a bit. But yeah, even in so right beside Kumamoto Station, there's a couple of hills, and I like to go up there. So if you go to Kumamoto Station, it's roughly about a 20-minute walk from there. There's this hill called Hana Okayama, and on the top there's a Buddhist temple, and so it's really a beautiful temple. It was created by this guy. I can't remember his name, but he was one of the few true war resistors during World War II, and
Huh.
he somehow managed to survive. And after the war, he created this global movement of promoting peace and anti-nuclear weapons. And
Hmm.
he got his Buddhist movement has created these sort of temples all around the world. And of course, the first ones were sort of in Kyushu. So if you
Okay.
go to Kumamoto Eki and you see this hill with this white building, that's what it is, and it's really
Okay. Yeah, I never
nice.
never knew what that was up there. That's really really interesting. Yeah, and for those of you that haven't been to Kumamoto, highly recommended. It's a nice little city with obviously great food, great drinking neighborhood, and that sort of thing. So, and of course, Evan's there, so you have somebody to
Yeah,
go out
of
drinking
course,
with.
come visit.
Sure. Yeah. So, so we did have a couple of comments about what people are drinking. We got Colby. I was drinking Tengu Zakura Yakiimo from Umami Mart, which just arrived, I believe. A pretty amazing shochu. To know that that's in the States is kind of remarkable. And turns out Ian is drinking the same thing. Of course, Ian is one of the folks who works at Umami Mart and is quite active on social media with letting us know what new shochus are available. It was actually from his Instagram, I think, that I realized that Tenguzakuta Yakimo is available in the U.S. and it's hard for us to get here in Japan, so it's pretty cool that they've got it in the U.S. right now. So good work, guys. And then Chris Caldwell's having kase, a aged barley from Saga. And I will say that I have not tried this. I'm familiar with it from social media. It's a white bottle with, I believe, red labeling, and it's a pretty package. I just haven't had a chance to try the drink itself. I think it's an export only brand. I haven't seen it in Japan. Um,
Yeah,
but
I can't say I've had it either.
yeah, yeah. There's only 12 shochu distilleries in Saga Prefecture, but they kind of punch above their weight. The Mizu shochu all comes from Saga as well, from Munemasa Distillery, but I'm not sure which distillery is making kase. But yeah, good choices, guys. That's a couple of unusual shochu that people are enjoying.
Yeah,
And
although I live in Kumamoto, I've never actually visited Saga, so it's really
yeah,
something on my list of things to do.
I'd say I highly recommend it. It took me a little while to get there, even though it's basically our neighboring prefecture. But there's some pretty great pottery villages.
Yeah,
Arita
yeah,
is there,
of
obviously, which is the
course.
most famous, but then you've got Karatsu, Yaki, and a few other, I guess, minor styles of porcelain that are made in the region. And Karatsu itself has a nice castle. It's an old castle town, beautiful beach. If you like the ocean, it's a good place to go hang out. They have the beach barbecues in the summertime where you can go out and grill your meat beachside. And um, all during Golden Week, they actually have their pottery festivals. So unfortunately, with travel plans being what they are this year, I won't be able to make it. But I went, I think 2 years ago, and spent some time at one of the pottery festivals, which was pretty cool. So yeah, definitely recommend Saga as another destination for people who visit Kyushu. So
Don't say that to Japanese people. That's usually ranked number 47 in prefectures that people want to go to. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I haven't been to all of them, but I would not rank Saga last. That's for sure. It is very rural though. It's a kind of a countryside prefecture. There's not Saga City is smaller than, I'd say quite a bit smaller than Fukuoka City, and that's the biggest city in the prefecture. And then Karatsu is probably second, and that can't be more than about, I'm guessing, around 50,000 people. So it's not a big prefecture population wise, and basically the only thing anybody knows about Saga is the porcelain, the ceramics.
Yeah. I might next week and during Golden Week, I might go to Tosu because I heard there's a large shoe shop there that might have shoes that would fit me. So this is probably the reason my legs have been injured. So
yeah, you do need good running shoes. I developed some leg pain recently, and I reached out to folks on Twitter, and they're like, "How old are your running shoes? How far have you run on them?" And I realized I'd put about over 500 kilometers on them, and they're like, "Yeah, you probably need a new pair."
yeah,
Got a new pair and feeling a little better. So
yeah, I got a new pair, but they're too big, so I need to go to a shop.
Gotcha.
Actually.
Yeah, that's cool. So actually, let's move on to booze news. We just have one kind of exciting thing to share with folks, and that, of course, those of you who are watching already know about Takamine, but Takamine got a pretty impressive shout out. Let's see, here we go. This is always takes longer than expected. This is a review from Market Watch, which is actually a business website that's run by Dow Jones. And the review is that there's a one-of-a-kind Japanese whiskey that has an American connection. Takamine Whiskey honors Jokichi Takamine, Japanese-born chemist who made his mark in the U.S. Nice bottle artwork there with the cherry blossoms, and then tells the story of Takamine and how to enjoy it, etc. So pretty exciting that we got that Honkaku Spirits got a shout out on Market Watch for Takamine, and yeah, that's pretty nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's we'll see how it if it changes anything. That's the big question always. But so the yeah, it's I got interviewed by the journalist who writes that series. He recommends a new bottle or a new drink every weekend. So it's called the Weekend Sip, and it's I guess I'd never heard of it, honestly, but it was I was told that it's a good placement to get, and so we ended up being able to get Takamine in there, since Jokichi Takamine, as I'm sure many people know, donated the cherry blossom trees to Washington, D.C. So there's that tie-in with cherry blossom season, and that's the pretty picture. But anyway, moving on, I guess we've already started talking about you and your journey to Japan, but again, Evan Gowan joining us, and you're a climate scientist and a shochu lover. So, and why don't you tell us briefly about your climate science? Like, what in that world do you do?
So, I mean, the main thing that I sort of research is looking at past climate and how that changed the way the Earth's surface looked. So in some ways, it's kind of geography. So basically, over time, due to changes in the Earth's orbit and changes in greenhouse gases, large sheets of ice covered Europe and North America, and that caused sea level to drop. So what I'm doing right now is trying to look at how the drop in sea level affected the rainy season in Japan, because when the sea level dropped, the East China Sea was land, and the Tsushima Strait, which is between Kyushu and South Korea, was probably not connected to the Pacific Ocean. So these things likely had a profound effect on the climate of Japan. And so right now I'm kind of trying to quantify that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the main thing I try to investigate is what the Earth looked like in the past.
How long ago are we talking about with those kinds of changes?
So specifically right now I'm focusing on this period 20,000 years ago. And that's at that time the sea level around Japan was about 130 meters lower than present. So the coastline of China would have been very close to Okinawa, for instance.
Huh. And was Japan still an island nation at that time, or was there a land bridge?
So I was looking at some of the paleontology, and I think the connection between South Korea and Kyushu and Honshu was they were connected because, and the reason for that is that there used to be elephants in Japan, and so there were elephants here, and they eventually went extinct, and there was no connection between Hokkaido and Honshu, though, because you don't find the elephants in Hokkaido, but instead you find woolly mammoths. So the woolly mammoths were in Hokkaido, but not in Honshu. So there was kind of not a connection there. So that's the kind of stuff that I've been recently working on.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, and I guess it makes sense that if there was a land bridge, it was to Kyushu, because that's really, if you go back into pretty ancient Japanese history, that's where a lot of the civilization really started up in the Japanese archipelago. I mean, today we think about Tokyo and Kyoto, but the first rice cultivation, the first settlements that we're aware of were all in Kyushu. So I guess that makes sense. Even though humans probably came later, but
so I think the first humans in Japan was about 14 or 15,000 years ago. So by that point, the sea level had risen a bit, but I assume that they had boats. So because you find like old ancient people or evidence of ancient people in Okinawa, like some of the southern islands in Okinawa were connected to Taiwan, but and they know this based on the presence of boars. So they do not find like boars in the main Okinawan island, but you find them in like Miyako-jima. So
interesting. Yeah, the animals leave a trace. I guess that's pretty interesting stuff. And when did you discover? Obviously, we're shifting gears. That is interesting, but this isn't paleontology chat. So, when did you discover shochu, and how did that journey begin for you? Because you've been drinking it for a while now.
The first time I met my wife in Australia when I was doing my PhD in, I guess that was in 2011, and the first time I came to Kumamoto because she was living here was in 2013. I actually just got a reminder. It was almost exactly 9 years ago that I first came to Japan. And of course, the first time I came here, I knew almost nothing about Japan. Like, it was definitely a bit of a shock. And so, yeah, the story about how I was introduced to shochu is like, everybody knows about Nihonshu sake. And we were staying at a ryokan in Miyazaki, and my wife says, oh, in Kyushu, we don't drink sake, we drink shochu. And he's like, and she said, you will like it. You love whiskey, so you will like shochu. And of course, I tried it, and I absolutely loved it. And so in 2016, I really started to get into it after meeting Nori-san at the Gloco bar. And one thing that really sort of bonded me to shochu was there was a series of major earthquakes here in in April 2016, and at that time, like I had only met Nori-san a few weeks before that, and his bar was a mess, and I didn't have running water in my apartment, and he said, let's go to Hitoyoshi, see some distilleries, go visit an onsen, and so that was sort of really what bonded me to shochu. And we went to 3 distilleries, and yeah, it was really a good time. And ever since then, I've thought about shochu. It's like something that really links me to Japan, and especially I think about the Kumashotu from Kumamoto. So that's sort of
that's such a Nori story. I mean, he's I can't think of a better word for him than mensch, right? He will do anything for anyone. If he's decided that you're his friend, he'll just, in the middle of a disaster, he'll be like, all right, this sucks, let's get out of here. And then he goes and takes you someplace amazing, right? That's just, it's so Nori. He's really just a wonderful guy, and his friendship is deep.
We hang out all the time. So like on the weekend, like right now, because of they want to encourage people to go out, even though it's still pandemic. They basically have this program where if you stay at like a ryokan, you get a whole bunch of money back, and you get these discount or these coupons that you can use anywhere in Kumamoto. So there's this place on the east side of the city. So Nori-san said, "Oh, let's go there." And we paid 3,000 yen, and we got this massive room with an onsen in it, and there's like a public onsen, and we got 5,000 yen to spend at the hotel, like 5,000 yen each. And also we get these 2 coupons for 2,000 yen. So even though we paid 3,000 yen, we got like 7,000 yen worth of stuff back to us. So
that's crazy.
We had to like try to get all this stuff out of the gift shop and buy a bottle of shochu. It's like, got a massage. It's just like that's what's going on right now in Kumamoto. Like this program was extended until the end of June, I think. So if you
and that's a local program, huh?
So the main thing though is you have to show proof of vaccination. So there's a program for vaccinated people. I think maybe that's sort of their way of encouraging vaccination, that you can basically stay at the hotel for free.
Yeah, right. I mean, Nori's closing his bar soon, so I guess when I take a trip down to pour one out for local bar, I'll have to take advantage of that program. Should pick a weekend and come down. Do you know what his plans are next? Is because he had been doing some consulting with the city and some other folks and restaurant group and that sort of thing?
Well, he's planning to move overseas for a year or 2. I think.
That's right. He did mention that. Yeah.
Either Germany or America. But maybe it's better that you ask him to be on the show, and he can.
Sure. Yeah. He'd probably do it. We typically, when we invite Japanese people on, they're a little shy about speaking English, but I don't think that would happen with Nori. I think he'd be happy to come on. Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll do a live stream from Local Bar when I'm down there. That could be fun.
But anyway, maybe one thing I can discuss is the different shochus that I experienced from Kumamoto. So
sure. No, that'd be great. We don't talk enough about Kumashotu, I don't think so.
Yeah. So I mean, the Kuma River, the Kumagawa, is sort of the main center of shochu in Kumamoto Prefecture, and it's like a geographical indicator. And most Kumashochu is made with rice, and of course that's not the most common style of shochu, but in Kuma River, it's the most common. And so I find most there's lots of different styles. So, but yeah, today I brought I went to Hitoyoshi, which is the main city in Kuma River, last month, and I got this bottle. So it's a Shoku. What is it called? I had to look it up.
I'm not familiar with that label.
Shaku Ayu, it's called.
Shaku Ayu.
So it's from Fukuda Chuzo, which is one of the bigger distilleries in Hitoyoshi, I think. And
Okay.
this is barrel aged, so it's got sort of hints of a whiskey style of smell.
Okay, nice.
So barrel aged rice shochu seems to be quite common. Like I think I went to that distillery and they gave me some to try.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the producers in the Kuma River Basin do make that style. That whole Hitoyoshi region. I mean, obviously you've got Fukano and Oishi who have their whiskeys overseas, their rice whiskeys, but they also sell barrel-aged shochu domestically here in Japan. Sengetsu makes barrel-aged, which is they're a decent-sized maker, and then of course Takahashi, which makes Hakutake. They have the Hakutake Gold label in the States, which is a barrel-aged rice shochu. So you're right, there is quite a bit of barrel aging done in Hitoyoshi and in the surrounding area. I think Toyonaga has the sherry cask. It comes in small bottles. I think it might only be available in Europe, or maybe might be some in the States. It's super dark, concentrated sherry cask aged rice shochu. And I think it's quite old as well. It's in a kind of cool shaped bottle. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of barrel aging in the area.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, we went there to sort of. I hadn't been to Hitoyoshi since the floods. So a couple of years ago, there was a massive flood event that basically flooded all of Hitoyoshi, and we drove all the way through the Kuma River Valley, and the devastation was shocking. And we went to some of the shochu distilleries were completely destroyed, and we stopped at one of them, and they said that they were going to restart next year. But yeah, it's shocking. Like there were bridges taken out and roads washed away. It's very sad to see.
When was this? When did you see this?
Last month.
Last month, so it's still in bad shape. Okay, I've been wondering.
It will take years to fix at least along the Kuma River downstream from Hitoyoshi. There were some bridges that were completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are there, they're still full of trees. Right. There's like a Meiji era train railway that went along the river, and most of it was destroyed as well. And I doubt they will rebuild it. But
right. Yeah, that train was the main way into Hitoyoshi. It was that train line. So now I guess you have to drive. I've been wondering about the condition and how the rebuilding had been. I know Jufuku Distillery, which is a tiny little handmade distillery in central Hitoyoshi, they've restarted production. So now they're back online. I believe Sengetsu is as well. They had some flooding, but they're back operational. But yeah, it was really, really devastating to that region. The video that came out during the floods was just horrifying. So especially having spent quite a bit of time in Hitoyoshi, and I've been wanting to get back, but I just haven't been sure when is the right time. I used to stay at the Hitoyoshi Ryokan, which I believe was the flooding reached the second floor of this 100-year-old Japanese building. So I imagine it's going to take them a while to reopen if they can at all.
Yeah, like we did a tour of a shoyu maker, so soy sauce, and
Mhm.
they said that they were unable to produce anything for about a year because they had to like rebuild everything, and yeah,
Mhm.
they were back in operation. But there was a
Okay.
shuzo next door to it, which they just tore it completely down, and whether or not that's rebuilt, I have no idea.
Yeah.
They still have.
Was that Tsuchida?
I
Was that,
think,
I think,
yeah, it's Fujita, I think.
Fujita, that's right. Yeah, Fujita. Yeah, they were completely destroyed. The I was, I met the owner on Shochu'sday in Kagoshima uh, last year, the year before last, right after the floods, and he was pouring some of his last bottles that he had at this event, and he said he was just like standing there watching his storage tanks float away, like, and there's just you feel powerless. There's nothing you can do. So I
No,
think there's been some crowdfunding efforts to try to get him restarted, but it's going to be a long journey.
yeah, I have a bottle of it, which I plan to open my 40th birthday in a few months. So it'll be my
There you
special
go.
thing.
Yeah, good occasion to do that. Um, great. Any other thoughts on Kumashochu or? Uh, I,
So, I mean, like there's so many different kinds, and it's such a different drink from mugi and emo shochu. So, each bottle will be different, I would say. And of course, my preference is with the vacuum distilled styles of rice shochu. Of course, my favorite rice shochu is actually not a Kumashotu. It's a Makusa shochu, which is made in a Makusa, obviously.
that's
And
right.
maybe that's a seg to the next step of my discussion is a Makusa. It has one distillery, a Makusa Shuzo, and their
Mhm.
main product is a emo shochu called what is it?
Ike no Tsuyu, isn't
Ike
it?
no
Yep.
Tsuyu. But
Yep.
they made the rice shochu, Amakusa Shuzo or shochu, sort of as their starting product to sort of get started, so that they could start making this handcrafted emo shochu. But Amakusa, if you don't know, it's an archipelago, and after World War II, they built a series of bridges that connected these islands. And before those bridges were created, there were tons of shuzos in Amakusa, and they typically made sweet potato shochu using this variety of shochu, or this variety of emo called America emo. And so America emos are not as nice as the types of potatoes that are used for, say, Satsuma or for Kagoshima styles of shochu. But yeah, after the bridges were made, it became easy to bring in cheap shochu from the mainland. So all of these distilleries went out of business. And last summer, I went to Amakusa, and there was actually a Hitoyoshi area distillery that was making like the old style of Amakusa shochu with America emo. So
No
it's
kidding.
a bit rough compared to
Huh.
a nice Satsuma shochu, but
Yeah, I don't think I've tried that. Yeah, maybe I'll share my screen so people can see what we're talking about. Because Amakusa is a great part of the prefecture, but not a lot of people are aware of it. So I'm going to show you. This is Kyushu. So I'm up here in Fukuoka, and Evan's here in Kumamoto. So that's the Kumamoto city. Hitoyoshi is down here. That's and if we zoom in, you can see that this is sort of the Hitoyoshi River Basin. Or sorry, the Kuma River Basin. I'll go in closer. So there's the Kuma River, and basically all through here is farmland, and it's just surrounded by mountains. So that's the Kuma River region, where there's, I believe, now I guess 27 active distilleries. But Amakusa is out here. So here's Amakusa City, and these are the bridges to the islands that Evan was talking about. So a little southwest of Kumamoto City, you've got the Amakusa Islands, and then down on the coast, I don't think I have. It's somewhere in this area. This is not my usual browser, so I'm not signed in. But is the Amakusa distillery, which Evan was mentioning, and they've got an interesting story, because they made sweet potato shochu, as Evan mentioned, back in the day. But when Hakutake Shiro became a popular brand, this vacuum distilled, very light, easy drinking rice shochu became popular, everybody in Amakusa stopped drinking their old style and started drinking Hakutake, because it was cheaper, as Evan mentioned. Also, it's very light and clean, easy drinking. And so Amakusa, the distillery, they said, we've got to shift gears here. And they started making vacuum distilled rice shochu as their main product, and they stopped making sweet potato. And then I guess 10 or 15 years ago, they actually built a separate facility across the road from their main distillery and started making sweet potato shochu again. And they make relatively little of it, but it's become an extremely popular brand among shochu lovers in Japan. Makes it from a bunch of different kinds of sweet potatoes. And because they're in this really tiny little village on the island, the water pressure isn't that strong to handle the intense water demands of a distillery making sweet potato shochu. So he makes the shochu from midnight to 6 a.m. during the season, so that he's not disrupting people's showers and cooking and other needs for water in the village, which I think is a pretty cool thing to do. And Nori and I actually went there once to work in the distillery. You get there in the afternoon, you have a nice dinner with the family, have some drinks, fall asleep about 8, 9 o'clock, and then you wake up at midnight and start working. Then you work all night. And it was pretty wild to be finishing your workday as the sun's rising over the water, because the distillery is right on the coast, right? To have the sun rising over the water as you're finishing your workday, it was pretty cool experience. Have you had a chance to spend time there?
I've gone there twice, but they were not actively making shochu when I was there. Like, I went there in the summer, so they make the sweet potato shochu in the winter.
That's right.
And I think the first time I went there, they made us help bottle the shochu. They were bottling that day.
Yeah, they'll put you to work if you show up.
Yeah, we had to get up at 6 a.m. and of course we maybe had a few drinks the night before, and we had to have breakfast with the mother. And
yeah, nice. Yeah, and they do a when things go back to normal, if people are planning on visiting during the summer, visiting Japan during the summer, Amakusa Distillery does have a festival that they host nearly every year, where it's kind of a weekend open house for the distillery, and people come from all over Kyushu and hang out. They have, I think, like live music and games, and you can get a tour, you can try the shochu, people are out cooking, like barbecue and that sort of thing. So it's a really fun event that I have not been to. I've wanted to go, but I've never actually managed to have it fit my schedule. But maybe this year. Yeah. So figure out when that is and let people know.
Yeah. So, and another place where they make shochu in Kumamoto is Oguni, and it's getting closer to the Oita sort of region, but they don't actually make mugi shochu there. So the closest town is Hita in Oita. And anyway, I often go to Oguni region because that's sort of the central location for ryokans. So, like, for instance, Kurokawa, which is one of the most famous onsen towns in Japan, is in the Oguni region. And the interesting shochu that I like to get when I go there is this shochu known as Imo Guruma. So if you don't know what Guruma is, it means like a car. And what Imo Guruma is that they make shochu using taro, which is
Wow.
sort of a root vegetable. Like it's called sato imo in Japanese. And anyway, it sort of looks like a potato, but it's not a potato. And one thing about the taro is that it's very slimy when you peel it. So how they make it is they have this little wheel that goes in a creek, and it spins, and inside is this. They put the taro into it, and it sort of peels the taro in this wheel that goes in the water.
No kidding.
So that it doesn't make their hands all slimy. And so that's how they get the taro. And then they make sato imo shochu, which has a very unique taste. Like it doesn't taste like an imo shochu. So because it's not imo, it's taro.
Right. Interesting. I'll have to look for that brand. That's actually one of the destinations for Golden Week, staying in Kurokawa for a night. So
you'll be able to find it in the gift shops there. So
nice. I'll keep my eyes out for sure. Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Kumamoto. Underrated prefecture, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it has amazing scenery. Like if you get a chance, go to Aso. So there's like Aso is a big volcano. It's one of the most active volcanoes, and it's sort of in the middle of this caldera, which was produced in a volcanic eruption about 90,000 years ago. And if you go to the top on this road called Milk Road, you can see inside, and it's just an amazing view. And you take Milk Road to go to Oguni. So there's a few places you can stop and just enjoy the view.
Yep. Yeah, I've driven Milk Road. I know it well. There's some pretty amazing views up there. Really, really pretty part of the country for sure. And you're right. Kumamoto has these kind of distinct regions that are popular for visiting between Hitoyoshi, Aso, and Amakusa. So you could spend a fair amount of time down there if you decided to visit.
So come to Kumamoto, go to the ryokans, drink some shochu.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this has been great, Evan. Really appreciate you coming on the show on short notice. We had a little bit of a scheduling challenge with Christopher in the States, and you stepped up for us. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and definitely be down in Kumamoto soon to visit Nori's bar before it shuts down. Our last segment that we usually do is newly open. So you showed us your bottle there.
Shaku ayu. So an ayu is this type of trout or some sort of river fish that they catch in Hitoyoshi. So
that's right. It's normally translated as sweet river fish, I think. And they tend to be salt grilled whole or really, really delicious. But I'll have to try that one. I haven't seen that shochu before. For me, my newly opened is not a shochu, unfortunately, because I kind of, if I'd been thinking, I would have opened a Kumashotu, but I actually opened the 2021 edition of Komagatake whiskey. The 2020 I absolutely adored, and so I ended up picking up the 2021 recently, and it's the 2020 is much more sherry cask forward. This has some sherry cask in the blend, but it's not quite so much of a sherry bomb, but enjoying that as well. So yeah, I know it's available in the States, and what surprised me with these Komagatake limited editions is they don't cost that much more in the US than they do in Japan. Because you see big markups on the Suntory or Nika products compared to what they cost in Japan, but these Mars products are still relatively affordable. So if you find it and it's a price you're willing to pay, pick it up. So
I drink so much shochu, I don't have time for whiskey.
Sure. Well, with Japan distilled, we have to keep our eye on all of the spirits here in Japan. We can't play favorite too much, but yeah, we'll definitely see you soon. You're coming up toward the end of Golden Week here to Fukuoka. We'll have a time out then, and then I'll come down to see you soon.
Hopefully, get a lot of shochu drank.
Yeah, got a couple places I want to take you that you haven't been before, so it should be fun. Well, thank you to everybody out there in Shochu'sday land. This has been Stephen Lyman filling in for Christopher Pellegrini, who's normally the host and does the sign in and sign out. Here with Evan Gowan. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for listening, and kampai. Get our coffee kampai. And I forgot to click end broadcast.